most Floridians. Miami Herald poll found that 70% of people polled are concerned about climate change and sea level rise in Florida. And for our coastal economy, something that Governor Scott seems to be concerned about, economy, jobs, he really should have this at the forefront of his mind. From beaches alone, tourism dollars from beaches bring in about $40 billion a year, and that's from just completely out-of-state tourism, not even including how we spend our weekends at the beaches. And so the health of our beaches is directly related to the health of our local economy. That same industry supports about 500,000 Floridian jobs. So to be completely in denial and just bury your head in the sand is irresponsible fiscally, forget even environmentally. Environmentally, we have this relationship with nature where people from all over the world come not just to lay around in the sand, but to experience the beauty that we have here, to have the chance to see a sea turtle emerge from its nest as a hatchling, or to see dolphins in the wild, or to go dive and look at coral. And by not taking seriously what is now consensus, what is now what we should accept as reality as much as we accept gravity as reality, that climate change is real, that there are tangible steps that we can take to reduce its impact, and to acknowledge that Florida is at the forefront of this fight, like it or not, is wholly irresponsible, and it shouldn't be a political issue whatsoever.
The number to call is 813-239-9663. You can also send a text to 813-433-0885 or email us at dj@wmnf.org. We're going to go back to the phone now. And Mike in Tampa, you're on the air.
This is WMNF. Could I get your first name and where you're calling from? Stephen in Pasadena. Okay, I'm going to put you on hold and we'll get you on the air real soon.
Subsidizing renewable resources, could that help Florida's environment?
Yeah, absolutely. Anything we can do to reduce carbon emissions and to invest in renewable resources like our tremendous solar power potential that we have in Florida with over 360 sunny days a year. We also have offshore energy that's being explored, not in the conventional sense, but looking at wave energy and looking at the energy that we can get through turbines in the Gulf Straits. So there are other alternatives out there that don't have a byproduct that is going to drive us towards mass extinctions and a completely different way of life for humans.
Mike, thanks for that question. We're going to move on to Stephen in Pasadena. I want to give out the number first, 813-239-9663 or dj@wmnf.org. If you'd like, you can send a text to 813-433-0885. Hi, Stephen, over there in the Pinellas beaches. What would you like to say?
This is WMNF. Could I get your first name and where you're calling from? Jimmy in West Sydney. Okay, I'm going to put you on hold and we'll get you on the air real soon.
All right, thanks, Stephen. Thanks for your question.
So right here
Okay.
in Tampa Bay, we have a tidal gauge that has been monitoring sea level rise. And so right here in Tampa Bay, not on your side in Pasadena, we have records of the last 50 to 60 years of increasing sea levels. and that is consistent with what is being experienced globally. So
This is
7 to
WMNF,
9
but it's
inches
naming where
over
it's
the
falling
last
from.
100 years. So we're no different. Now this rate
DJ
is
in Tampa.
more
Okay, I'm gonna
rapid
put you on hold.
than
We'll
what
get
we
you on
see
the air real soon.
historically, and meteorologists are certainly very different from climatologists. That's like comparing apples and squirrels. And so we have experts in the field that come from a variety of different backgrounds, political persuasions, educations, nationalities. This is sort of an issue that's beyond dispute, beyond discussion. You can go to your municipality and ask about beach renourishment and look at the frequency of beach renourishment and how that's being accelerated over the last several decades, and the cost that it is for you as a taxpayer and for you as a community, the burden that places on you to continue to bring in sand. The sand that you have on your beach right now is not from St. Pete, it's not from Pinellas County. Chances are it's from either inland or the Bahamas or somewhere else offshore. And that's because we're losing about half of our beaches are considered critically eroded. Part of that is because of coastal armoring, and part of that is being accelerated due to sea level rise.
So Stephen might not be visually seeing sea level rise, even if he thinks back in his memory for decades, simply because there's just more sand being dumped to keep those beaches where they used to be.
That's right. And with respect to climate change and increasing temperatures, Florida is pretty lucky, and actually you're right in one respect. The future of Florida with respect to precipitation and how we're going to be affected by increasing temperatures is less certain than other regions where you're going to see a bigger sway. So in the Arctic region, we already know that's where the worst of the impacts are being felt, and you can see the largest changes in temperature there. But in Florida, as well as the rest of the nation, every year, each consecutive year is the hottest year on record. And you're able to plot this with carbon emissions and show, and if you even look back in history and you see increases in carbon emissions, or not carbon emissions, but carbon dioxide, atmospheric carbon dioxide, that is coupled with increasing in temperature. So the difference now is that it's anthropogenic. The difference now is that it's increasing at a rate that we haven't seen historically. And the biggest difference now for species is that they would need to evolve at a rate 10,000 times faster than they historically have been able to do. This is vertebrate species, in order to adapt to contemporary climate change.
And you use the word anthropogenic. What that means is that humans have created the carbon dioxide that's causing the increase in atmospheric carbon dioxide that we're seeing. And also, one of the other issues that Stephen addressed was that the meteorologist can't tell him exactly what's going to happen exactly at his house today. But I think what the disconnect between that and the saying that the trends are over the next several decades, here are the things that are going to happen, is it's not a specific prediction that's being made. It's kind of, here's the trend, and this is what we should expect if these trends continue. Is that maybe one way to look at that difference?
Yeah, that's right. And so within climate change science, there is a lot of uncertainty with respect to how severe impacts might be, or how sort of different feedback mechanisms might work. So the cause and effect of, well, if you have increasing temperatures here, what does it do to wind over here? So definitely there's a lot of disagreement and uncertainty there, but the idea that climate change, as we're experiencing it now, and that is affected by carbon emissions that we as humans are producing and have been since the Industrial Revolution, is beyond dispute. It's beyond discussion. We need to move to the next stage, which is, what are we going to do about it?
My guest is Jacqueline Lopez, Florida Director of the Center for Biological Diversity, and we are taking your phone calls, 813-239-9663 or dj@wmnf.org. You can send us a text at 813-433-0885. It's 12:47 in the afternoon. You're listening to WMNF Tampa, 88.5 FM, and WMNF.org. Jimmy in Ybor City, what would you like to say? Right, solve all the world's problems, Jacqueline.
Right, whoever knows the answer to that needs to be elected president. Yeah, no, that's a great point, and it comes down to values, and I don't know the answer to that question. I think we all struggle with having these conversations with maybe even family members, friends, loved ones, where you disagree
This is WMNF.
fundamentally on
Can I get
these
your first name and where
values,
you're calling from?
and it's important to continue to have conversations and reaching out and getting out of your comfort zone
Anthony
to
in
talk to
Palmer.
people
Okay, I'm gonna
that
put you on
maybe
hold
don't
and we'll try
see
to
eye to
jump
eye
in
with
before
you
the
on
end of the show.
everything. But no, that's a fantastic question. I don't have the answer to it.
Good point, Jimmy. Thanks so much for bringing that up. Let's go now to DJ in Tampa. Hi, DJ. Very good. How are you? All right, thanks for that question, DJ. And hang on if you don't mind.
Right. So, eliminating or dramatically reducing fossil fuels, which has to do a lot with our transportation infrastructure, our not just our daily decision making, but rethinking and looking at how we live as a society, as a culture, taking inventory, taking stock of what we think is important, and prioritizing how we're going to move forward, what we're going to need to do to move forward. And so, yeah, as an individual, you can do things to reduce your own carbon footprint. But more importantly, as a voter, you can continue to support and elect people that are going to move us towards international binding agreements that have all the major players, all the major emitters taking steps domestically. And each country has different resources and sources of emissions in different sectors, but to have leaders that will step up and get into these agreements and have us locked into binding measures to reduce domestically our contribution to carbon emissions.
DT, thanks for that call. I appreciate that vision of things. And Anthony in Palm Harbor, you're up next. What would you like to say? Anthony, are you there? Yeah, hi.
This is David.
Thanks, Anthony.
So the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change is what you need to go look for, and that is probably the what's regarded by the most people as the consensus-driven scientific body. So it's international collaboration of scientists and governments that come together with all the different scientific studies, all of the models that are run, and comes up with this big report. So if you just, I don't know what the website is off the top of my head, but it's IPCC. You can Google it. You have all the information. It's an Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC. And that's when you hear the different statistics about what the level of consensus is on climate change from scientists. That's where people are getting that number from. It's very transparent, the information that they use. All of it is on this website that, again, you can find it online pretty easily, and it's accessible. So there's the technical documents that they use, but then there are executive summaries that explain how they've gone through the science and come to the different conclusions that they've come to with respect to all of the different factors within climate change, not just temperature and ocean acidification, but how different regions will be affected by flooding, precipitation, snowfall, all those things. And it is digestible and accessible to the average person, but it is compiled by actual climatologists, not necessarily meteorologists, not necessarily solar flare experts, but climatologists. That's right. It's an international group of scientists that meet and discuss the science, and they've had several iterations of their findings. And so you can find the most recent finding on their website, and it has a lot of tools available there that help break down how they've come to their scientific conclusions.
Anthony, thanks so much for that call. Yeah, that's IPCC. And I'm going to go to email in just a second. And let's see, one person is asking, is there a risk of losing government FEMA funding because of Rick Scott's stance on global warming?
That's a great question. I don't know about that, but the way that FEMA works for